has done, it has actually removed the index from there. And now when the index is removed, I'll just go back to that one and I'll just show you. Index is removed. And now I want to insert these two records into that one. If I execute that, you say that it is executed. And if I just select everything from here, do you see that it has 3 records of 1, 1, in the same values? They have got 3 records over here. And, they are typically over here. Now, let's do something interesting. So if I come back over here, so what do you think of, what do you think of the primary key now? The primary key is now gone. Why primary key is gone? Because I have just removed the index. So when index is removed, the primary key also goes away. Right. So now let's come back and we do alteration. This is very interesting. If I come here and I want to alter this over here, alter TBL employee. Spelling is not right. TBL employee. The spelling is not correct over there. Employee add constraint, unique TBL employee city, unique clustered city. I want to make that unique clustered city. Let's do that. And because, we might have something. So it's actually, it's not creating. Why? The create unique index statement terminated because the duplicate key was found for the object. Now, interestingly, you remember I have actually 2 cities with the same name, Toronto and Toronto. That is why what it is saying that you cannot do that. Let me just, do that. And I'll just, maybe I'll just remove that one from the table and let's do that one. So I would delete that one. Delete from TBL employee 456. Where, for example, city equal to Toronto. Let's delete that from Toronto. Okay, 2 rows affected. If you look at that, if I run that one, I just got this one. Now, if I now start to create this one index, let's create that one. It is now created successfully, right? And now if it is created successfully, I would have that index over here. I'll refresh that. I got the index and the index is UQ, again, unique TBL employee 456 underscore city. On the basis of city, it has now created that one. So now if I just come here and I want to insert these 2 records again. So you see that violation of unique key constraint UQ underscore TBL employee 456 city cannot insert duplicate key in object. Why? Because the duplicate value is London. So London is basically repeating and it says I cannot do that. And one of the row is being included. So if I just run that one, I'll see that London and Toronto is coming. So now I cannot insert a record, even though unique like ID can be same, but the city cannot be same. I have to just change the city because I have made this city as one of the, as one of the thing that would just, make it unique over here. So if I just done that, it has just stored. And if I just run that one, you see that now the ID keeps on getting the same, but this city can not be. So that's a very interesting thing that we can create a unique clustered, non-clustered index. So we have just created that one. Useful points to remember. So by default, a primary key constraint creates unique clustered index, whereas a unique constraint creates a unique non-clustered index. So it creates a non-clustered unique index. When we have just, when we just do the unique, it's actually create a non-clustered index and the primary key is automatically unique and clustered. That's an interesting fact about it. A unique constraint or a unique index cannot be created if duplicate values are already there. Of course, you cannot create that. We saw that. It just creates a problem for us. Disadvantage of indexes. So indexes occupy some extra spaces, of course, because we are creating a type of index where at one place the value will remain, at the one place where the key will remain. So we need a little bit of extra space. Now, insert, update, delete might become slow too. Why? Why would this insert, update, and delete will become slow while we are working with the indexes? It's a problem with that. And I don't want answer from Simarjit. I answered. I know I need answer from someone else. Anyone else can come up? Jatinder. I can see a lot of name, but I've not talked to them a lot of. Daniel, Manisha, Jatinder, Roop. It's Kavi, I think, and then Jayesh Kumar and Sunena. Arun. Can I have anyone just reply that? Insert, update, delete might become slow. Why insert and update and delete might become slow? Any reason for behind that? I'm still waiting for you guys to just come up. Other than, as I said, other than Samarjit. Samarjit already has replied a lot of times. Yeah. I've just called their names. I think I've so you may, if you don't know, you can write down that you don't know. But no answer is bad. Or someone is answering already. Sometimes I miss the messages as well. Let me set up something for myself. Yes, has anyone answered here? Other than, as I said, other than Simarjit, because I'm not looking for answer from him. Yeah. And even if people are hearing me or not, I don't know. Looks like people are not hearing me. Simarjit, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. But why is that? Like I'm not having any answer from anyone. I don't know what's going on there. And Simarjit, by the way, do you see any message other than this after Jatinder's yes and my question mark? I don't think there is any other. No, there
No.
is no. Yeah, there's no one, right? I know. I can understand that. Okay, I'll wait maybe one more minute if someone can come up. Not getting an answer is a bad, because I said that you can just write a no, I don't know, or something IDK, but not getting an answer is not good at all. What are you not sure about that, Daniel? Can you let me know what you are not sure? Just for my information. Which answer? What is the question? Do you know the question? I'm actually trying to find out if you even know the question. Or rather, not you, or maybe everyone else. Yeah, exactly, Daniel. So if you're not sure, why did you come up with the answer already? I was expecting you to answer that already, but you came up very late. Anyone else? I would like to have anyone else. Otherwise, it looks like people are just. I can see that some people logged in, but I don't see that anyone is here. And if you are not here, you should not be in the attendance as well. Then it's not a defeat or something. It's actually, whenever you are asked something in the class, you can always reply with an I don't know. Maybe if you don't know that, but that is if the no reply is a problem. But you can just reply that. That's important. But no reply is a problem. Okay. So Simarjit, can you answer why it would be slow, like the insert, update, or delete?
Um, I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but what I can think of is like maybe because there is no unique key in the database.
Okay. Okay. Jatinder says because indexes are also updated. Actually, the reason behind that is because the data is at different place and index is at different place.
Okay.
So it's virtually you have to update two places. You have to insert at two places. You know what I mean? So actually, it really makes at times it really makes that a little bit slower. And in that way, it is basically it tells you that it's typically slower. Why? Because the data is at one place and the values or the records or the value is at one place and the data is at one place, and that is something that is really a point of concern. So anyhow, so that's one thing that we have been just talking about. Now let's move that. So this is indexes, and we have just talked about the indexes. And now we'll just move to the other part of top of lecture today, and that is called transactions. We'll talk about transactions, which is very, very interesting and very important. And you will see that really makes a lot of things. So let's start talking about that one. Just give me a second. Setting up something. Transactions. Now, this is another very, very important topic of databases. And as I told you, that these topics are not only important in a way that you are studying them for the database purposes, but it's actually much more important for you when you practically go into the data analysis or something. You'll find out there that these are really cool topics that you must know that why how the transaction happens, how things are changed, and how things are basically being used. That really will make your make when you will start the as I said, the data analysis, you'll find out that these are so important things that we need to understand. Anyhow, so let's talk about how we will be talking about transactions. What are transactions? What is the agenda of transactions? Batch. We'll talk about batch transaction. We'll talk about transaction by itself. We'll talk about error checking. We'll talk about triggers. We'll talk about after trigger and instead of trigger. These are very, very important things that we need to just see that. So let's just start talking about that one. Okay. So batch, client side concept. We have a batch, something it is called multiple SQL statements submitted at once to the server, parsed as one entity. Syntax errors are caught at compile time. Entire batch can fail. Name resolution takes place execution time. Batch runs until error encountered. Go is used to end the batch. Now, this is very interesting. We actually create a batch of transactions. What we do is that we take multiple SQL statements and we want to send them once to the server. By the server, we mean again the database server we are talking about. We send SQL server multiple SQL statements by making them as a batch. And it says client side concept. So our client side, we just collect multiple statements and try to send them. They are passed as one entity. They are treated as one entity together. And if there is syntax error, compile time, the entire batch phase. So nothing is transacted, nothing happens. We'll see that's a very important thing. Sometimes we don't want, for example, transaction number 3 to go on if transaction number 1 was not executed. You know what I mean? Sometimes we want every transaction to go in a smooth and then just happens. So name resolution takes place at the execution time, batch runs until error encountered, and go is used to end the batch. We use go to end a particular batch. So let's talk about transaction and we'll see some examples. Transaction, server side concept. So on the client side, it's called batch. On the server side, it is typically called as transaction. Server-side content, multiple SQL statements. Changes are permanent when commit transaction. So we'll commit the transaction is issued, the changes become permanent, right? So interim changes are undone when rollback transaction. So if there is something error happens, it does rollback transaction. Make sense, everyone? Rollback transaction is issued. Essentially, the statements between the begin transaction and commit transaction act as a unit. So a transaction will start with begin transact and will end at commit transact. Make sense? And we'll see some examples. Transaction explain a group of commands that change the data stored in a database. They are treated as a single unit, either all or none. If maybe all, everything will happen, everything will be executed, or it would be nothing. Modified data roll back into statement statements. The modified data, if we have something modified, but if the statements fail or transaction as a general, as a completely fail, what happens is that data is rolled back to its original position or original values. So it maintains integrity of data. That's very important. It maintains the integrity of data. Let's come back over. Transaction processing steps. Step number 1, begin a transaction. Step number 2, process database commands. Step number 3, check for errors. If errors occur, roll back. Else, commit it. We can't see the uncommitted changes. More on that later. We'll talk about something later, but this is the way how we do the transactions. Let's come back over here. And, we will just, try to work with these transactions. Okay. Let's do that. And I just, run that one, for example. Let's come back over here. We have a TBL employee, which has, it's over here. We can work with that one. So begin transaction, update. For example, TBL employees. He will apply 456. Set country is equal to Canada, where country ID is equal to, or where because ID is not unique. So let's take the first name or the salary. Maybe let's take the salary, where salary equals to 1200. Not country, it should be city, because we have city. So we can set up the city and we can set up some other name, the city. And I can say, for example, Kitchener, right? So begin transaction. So we have this begin transaction. Now look at that. If I just come here and I execute that one, it says 1 row affected. If I just go there and I run everything from here, you see that it has basically done that one. The Kitchener has been changed. Now let's come back over here. There is a rollback transaction, commit transaction. So if I just come over here and if I run these two commands, Control C, Control V, and if I run this one, the commit transaction request has no corresponding begin transaction. So this commit has no begin transaction. So it says that there is no begin transaction. And we'll talk about these two. But right now, if you see that it begins a transaction and it executes that, if that is happening, it just changes that. And when it's happening, it basically does what? It changes from that one to the Kitchener. Whatever was the city, it has changed to the Kitchener. Now let's move forward and let's see that. If we check before commit from another session, query won't respond. Now I'll just tell you what does that mean. Set transaction. Now do this. To have transaction level rate uncommitted, select static from countries. Now so what is happening over here? I have begin a transaction, update countries, set country, Canada, where country ID is equal to. So now I'll again start one more transaction over here and I'll show you what is happening. So I will, rather than running this one, I'll run this one. Right? And I just come over here and I say city is equal to from Kitchener. I'll change that to, for example, Vaughan. I've changed it to Vaughan, right? And I do that. And in the meantime, I'll start another query. Look at that. I want to show you something. I have another query over here. So now if I just come over here and if I come to this one and I say use AP air and I say select status from TBL employee 456. And again, I will not run that one right now. I'll run that. So if I just do that, begin transition, execute, it says one query is basically under. Now, if I come over here and if I run this command, it is executing query. Look at that, what is happening. Simajit, are you getting what is happening actually? Because the transaction was begin over here. And I am trying to access the data from here. It's doing what? If you just see that. If we check before commit from another session, query won't respond. Look at that. Query is not responding over here. So you get it?
Okay.
You know
So
why it is happening?
we have to first mention the table, I guess, the
No.
data.
What we have to do, I'll tell you. What we have to do, we'll have to come over here and I'll have to, for example, say commit transaction.
Okay.
Make sense? Commit transaction. Let me just run that one. Now, if I come here and I run this command. Oh, still it is not doing. Why? Did I run that one? Yes, I done that one. It's executed. Now why it is not, it's bringing up that one. It should now bring that. Okay, there is something wrong because it's now it should run that. Okay. Now it should run. That is not running. I don't know why. Let me just see that. Okay, if I just use just give me a second, rollback transaction. If I just say rollback transaction, executes. If I come here and I execute this one. Okay, do you see that? Rollback is working and you see that it's showing London. It's Toronto. Even though what I've done is that with the person having salary of 1200, this one I have tried to set that one as Vaughan over here. Now, if I just use that commit keyword, I don't know if I'm just making a mistake in that. Let me just come here and I display this. I try to display this. Yeah, so you see that? No, it's showing the begin. This showing the one. That's interesting. Yeah, because of commit. Because of commit, it's showing the run. And if I just take this away, and after one, if I change it to, for example, Oshawa or something, I don't know. If I just do that one, execute that, it's begin, and it's not being committed. If I just come here and I've changed this one to Oshawa, right? Look at that. Now it is not running. Yes. So you see that commit is basically commit or the rollback is working over there. Simajit, you get it? Look at that. Either commit or because I've not committed that one. Our transaction is begin, but it's not committed because we don't know that whether it will be successful or not successful. So if I come over here and I say rollback transaction. If I say rollback transaction, look at that. If I just run that one, it is rollback. It means Oshawa should not be there, right? So if I now, you see that quickly we get the answer to that query. And it says that it's basically Vaughan, not Oshawa. So are you getting that one?
Yes, sir.
So it's rolling back. And if I say commit, as I did that before, if I say commit and I run this one, commit means everything is done and it's committed. And if I come here and I run that one, look at that, I get Oshawa here. Right? So transaction has this feature if you check before. Now, if we do that, set transaction isolation level read uncommitted. Set transaction isolation read level uncommitted. If I do that in the beginning, look at that. Control C. If I just come here and I just do that over here. I execute that one as well. So I have just, set that one. And now if I come here and I do not commit it, and I say from Oshawa, I want to change this Whitby, for example. Whitby, look at that. If I start this transaction and I come over here and I have set uncommitted as well. Look at that. I'm getting an uncommitted one, and I'm still getting I'm getting this Whitby as well, because it's uncommitted read is it's doing transaction isolation level read uncommitted. So uncommitted one is also coming up over here, and then we are getting Whitby over here. Make sense? So uncommitted will come up over here if we have set up this one for the isolation level for that one. Make sense? So if I set up this one, it is showing me this one. And if I come over here and I say roll back, if I say roll back, look at that. And if I run this now, you see that I'm just getting back the Oshawa. Yes, I'm getting back the Oshawa because it has been rolled back. Make sense? Whitby is no more there. But if it was a commit over here, if I say commit and I just run that one, and I come here and I run this one and run that, look at that, the Whitby comes up over here. And you see that it's automatically setting up the city as the ascending order, because we have so we have that city which is coming in the descending order over there. It is just coming up over there. Now let's move forward. So simple example, begin, insert into region ID, region description, value 5 and Europe. Select a tariff from region, insert into territories, region ID, territory, values 5, commit transaction. We are making 2 transactions at a time, in one table into the region, put ID and that one, and in the territories, put ID and this one. So we can just, run 2 transactions like this. So let's come back over here, and I just start a transaction. Right? And now let's do something interesting. I come here and I insert into TBL employee value 30 and 2300. If I just come over here, insert into right. And again, if you see that we have got and we select a tariff from the region, and select everything from that one. Employee, right? And now I'll insert another one. And now I'll insert into, let's do that, insert into this TBL employee 456. And do you know that, of course, it won't go away, but let's run that one. And do I need to select that one? No, let's do the commit transaction. Commit. Let's run this to this complete transaction. Okay. So it says that insert into table employees value 1, John, Toronto. And I think that it should not be happening. Let's do that. Oh, just hold on a minute. Yeah, I was right. Let's run that one. So, Toronto was not there, by the way. Toronto was not there. So that's why it is inserted. Now if I run this transaction again one more time, look at that. Now you see that one row affected. It says that it has inserted the TBL employee, the value 30, Paul, and 2300. But look at that. Violation of unique key constraint. Cannot insert duplicate in object TBL employee. The statement has been terminated. Now, a statement has been terminated. It means I'll show you what do I mean. If I make it 300 and I change it name to Alan, and if I make it, for example, 4,000, something like that. Look at that. If I commit this transaction right now, you see that it is not doing that. And if I check only the employee table, look at that. I have this 300 Alan over there. It should not be there, by the way. Oh yeah, so it should be there, of course. Because we are committing, so it stays on unchanges over there. Now, if I just come here and I say roll back transaction. So it says that this one, and let's see if that has multiple rows of that record. Look at that. The 4,000 is not coming over. And let me just see that 7,000 and EELN, something like that. So rollback transaction. So unique key and it is terminated, etc. And if I just come here and I just run this table employee, look at that. We don't have got the 7,000 record. Do you see that, Simon? What is happening? It's rolling back the transaction. Rolling back the transaction, right? So now if I just come here, what it is doing, implicit and explicit transaction. So again, we have run these two transactions, and these two transactions, if we commit transaction, they will be just, they will be committed out. And if there is a problem, they won't be committed out with that one, with that particular one. But if we will just roll them out, they will be just rolled out from that. Implicit and explicit transaction. By default, a single statement is treated as a transaction implicitly. Selected statement do not count. Selected statement do not count. And by default, a single SQL statement is a transaction implicitly. If not in a transaction, an update on a number of rows will be rolled back if an error occurs during the update. So if we are updating a number and if an error occurs during the update, if not in the transaction, so this will be a number of rows will be rolled back. Using begin tran and commit tran around the statement is explicit transaction. We can explicitly define a transaction by using this one. Error checking. Inside a transaction, a failed statement generally does not cause a rollback. Execution will continue with next statement. Exception is a system failure when it started again, the pending transaction will be rolled back. So you see that a failed statement generally does not cause a rollback. You remember it was not causing a rollback. When I was doing something like this is creating a problem. But if I'm making a commit here, you guys remember that one? So you see that now it will happen. Even though it is showing an error. But do you see that? Do you see that 7,000 record is added? So you get that? Why? Because this is the reason they are saying inside a transaction, a failed statement generally does not cause a rollback. Execution will continue with the next statement. Make sense? Exception is a system failure. When it started again, the pending transaction will be rolled back. It's the exception. Now, developer must check for the errors and act accordingly, often executing a rollback. Should check for errors after each statement by examining the value of at error. Now, this is the way we can check the errors. Let's come back here. Begin transaction, update ordered set customer ID is equal to something, where order ID is equal to this. Update ordered set employee ID is equal to 6, where order ID is equal to this one. Commit transaction. If the first update fails, the second one still executes even if it is not desired. So again, unless this happens, don't run this one. But commit transaction, as it is doing with us, commit transaction will automatically do that one, or right, run this one, and this one will not run. Even though the first one will have error, it will run the second one. Are you getting that one? So if the first update failed, the second still executes even if it is not desired. So it is generally it is not desired that this should not execute unless this one is not executed. Are you getting that one? So that is happening over here. Now, if I just come here, so to solve the previous issue, assuming the second statement should execute only if the first succeeds, now we will check up with the errors, and I'll implement this error check on my one as well. So update order set customer ID wine, where order is equal to 1. This if error is greater than 0, begin rollback transaction, go to error label, right? Update order set, if this one, if error is equal to 0, begin rollback transaction and commit transaction. This is very interesting. I'll copy this one over here and I'll just, take the rest of the label as well. Now what I'm doing, I'm replacing this with this one. And I'll just, make that from the other way around. I'll put that first. So now look at that. I'll take this one first and this one second. Right. And I'll copy, let's take the first one. The first one, Control C. I'll come here and I will replace this. Insert into TBL employee values 1. If error is greater than 0, if there is an error, begin rollback transaction, go to error label, end. Now the second one. Second one was insert into TBL employee, which should work. Again, which should work. And I'll change the value so that, we can see that 9,000 now. Control C, I come here and I just put the transaction over here. Make sense, everyone? And go to label and commit transaction. Let's now run this transaction. Okay, error label has not been defined. Oh, we have defined that one over here. Oh, it's here. And error label, we have not, I did not take that into consideration. So violation of key. So they see that is an error. And now what is happening? Does it include that one into that one? That we can check one over here. Look at that. The 9,000 value is not added. Simajit, are you getting that one? Now, whenever the error happens, it will just automatically roll back the transaction. And it will go to the error label. Error label means over here. Whatever we want to do, we can just display it over here. Are you getting that one? This is rolling back our transaction. Wonderful. Now, so it has begin try, begin transaction, update accounts balance, where this one, commit transaction, print transaction committed. We can print something as well. You know, that's interesting. And we can use the try catch as well in the statements as well. So I'm not using that one, but you know, this commit transaction will commit this transaction. If there is an error, it will just, you know, do that. Now comes the acid test, which is the most important one, which I wanted to discuss a lot. And we'll discuss that towards the end. And this is very interesting. Acid test. A successful transaction must pass the acid test, means atomic transaction not left half done, either committed or rolled back, but not in the middle. You understand the first point? When we started talking about the transactions, we were starting a transaction, but we were getting stuck in the middle. And getting us stuck in the middle is actually causing what? It was causing that we could not access that. So atomicity means that a transaction has to be either rolled back or committed, but not left in the middle of that one. Does that make sense, everyone? So that's one. Consistent from acid. Consistent. All data must be in a logical, consistent state. The data has to be in a logical, consistent state. What does that mean? The data should not be, you know, it's not like, you know, inconsistent, or, you know, something has been read or deleted, and, you know, it is being read from the other side. It is being deleted from the other side. It should not be happening. Isolated. Transaction must affect data without interfering with other concurrent transactions or being interfered by them. So that uncommitted information is not presented if it is rolled back. Locking. It's called locking. So isolated what? Transaction must affect data without interfering with other concurrent transactions. So it should lock the data and then do the changing. It is just like if I give you an example over here, that if in a ATM you insert your card and you are taking out the money, and, you know, at the same time, if someone, you know, for example, in my account here, there is only $10,000, for example, and I put my debit card and I try to take out $10,000. In the same time, someone else, some other person, they are trying to take out some money from my account, and I'm drawing 10,000 from here. If the transaction is not locked, it's not isolated, it might produce bad results. And again, a banker might be able to just, you know, take out money from both sides. You know what I mean? That's why these are called locks or transactions. They are isolation. Once they start working on one of the transaction, they might lock it for the others, and so that, you know, others cannot access unless the lock is removed. Last D, durable. Once a change is made, it is permanent. The data is restored to its original state in case of power failure or any other failure. Durable. Once a change is made, it is permanent. But if the rollback has happened, the data should be rolled back to its original position, because, you know, that is something we want to do. The common errors. Watch for the following: lock of permission on an object. Maybe there is lack of permission. Constraint violations, duplicates during update and insert, deadlocks, not null violations, illegal values of the current data type. These are the problems that might be created. Concurrency problems. These are very interesting, and I would like you to just remember that one. Common concurrency problems are dirty reads, lost updates, non-repeatable reads, and phantom reads. They have their own meanings. We'll talk about that. They are called concurrency problems. So isolation levels determine app's sensitivity to change made by concurrent transactions, right? So determine app's sensitivity to change made by concurrent transaction. So, you know, we have to check the sensitivity, you know, to the changes made by concurrent transaction. If some transaction has made the changes, what is that? 4 level: read committed, default; read uncommitted, it is called dirty read; repeatable read; and serializable. Usage set transaction isolation level, where level is one of the four above. Remember, we set up one of the level over there in our this transaction. Set transaction isolation level, read uncommitted. So which one is that out of this? This is dirty reads. You know what I mean? This is dirty reads because it's reading uncommitted. Make sense? It's dirty read. But if by default it's committed, once it is committed, it will just repeat it, and we'll talk about repeatable read and all that one. When one transaction is permitted to read data that has been modified by another transaction has not yet been committed. So look at that, the same example that we have just done. It is doing that same thing. Begin transaction, it's dirty read. Update account, set balance is equal to 1000, where ID is equal to 1. Wait for delay, and it will wait for delay for 20 seconds. Roll back. After 20 seconds, roll back transaction. In the 20 seconds, if I just come here, and if I want to read that, it will just show me with ID 1, it will just show me 1000, which is dirty read. Are you guys getting that one? Right? So it's basically actually what? It's a dirty read. Why? Because it's just trying to update. So now let's try to imitate that one. The dirty. We have done that dirty read already, but let's try to do that one more time. So we have begin transaction and we'll update, right? So I'll just come here and I'll start another begin transaction. Right? And let's say I want to update something. Yeah, let's take this update statement. And from Whitby, I want to change it to, right? So anything else, like, let's say Ottawa, whatever, right? Where salary is equal to 2000. So we have just done that one, update accounts. And now let's wait for delay. We just want to introduce wait for delay 00 colon 00 colon 20 seconds, right? Oh, it would come in single quotations. Right, and then roll back transaction, and then I will roll back that. Right, and I just do that. It will be transaction will begin and it will take 20 seconds to run. In the meantime, if we access the data, so it will take 20 seconds to run. If I come here and I just say I want to access everything from here, look at that. I get this which one? It was 1200 that we have changed. So we have changed 1200 from Whitby to Ottawa, but it is not changed over here. Let's let that complete. Maybe the transaction gets complete. Okay, it was 20 seconds. Ottawa. Okay, Ottawa was there, but it has of course rolled back that one. I would say, for example, London. Oh, I hope there is no London over there. Not that one. It is employee 14456. Oh, London is there. No, I won't use London. I would use rather Woodstock. Why not? Right. Let's run that one. And if I come here and I try to run that one, so you see that with the 1200, it's just coming up as the Toronto. And okay, because we have two of them, maybe that might be an issue. Let's insert one more. Yeah, so it's unique. It's basically disturbing that one. No problem. I can insert one more record into table 156. And I would say 3 Sarah John and let's say 2700 mail and not Waterloo. I would use Woodstock. Let's see that. Maybe it works. Oh, it has row affected. And if I just see that, yes, we have got a Woodstock. Now we'll just try to implement that one, right? We'll just check right now. So Woodstock should be changed to something like Ingersoll, for example. It should be Ingersoll where salary is equal to 2700. I've taken 2700, right? 2700. Now see here. It will take 20 seconds to execute because, we have just introduced a delay. I'll come here and I'll just try to access this one. You see that it is showing me Tara John 2700 Ingersoll. Is that a dirty read? Simarjit, it's a dirty read. Why? Because you know that after 20 seconds, this transaction will be rolled back. Do you understand? The transaction will be rolled back. And if I come back over here, and if I run it one more time, look at that. Right now it is Ingersoll, Tara John. Look at that. It's Tara John is Woodstock actually. Simarjit, you get it? Get that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the dirty read, and it is actually while transaction had to be had to roll back, and it was waiting, and it just goes there and reads uncommitted one, and uncommitted says that it's Ingersoll, which is bad. So that's why it is called dirty read. I hope that is that you guys have understood this one very clearly. So this is basically the dirty read, and it has when one transaction is permitted to read data that has been notified by another transaction has not been committed. So it has not been committed or rollback. It is just trying to read that data. Another way to check is select status from accounts, no lock. The no lock will do the same uncommitted transaction. We don't want to check that one. Lost update. When two transactions working on the same data and one of the updates gets overwritten by the others one. So two transactions trying to do the same thing, and one transaction thing has been changed or it has been overridden by the other. Right. So here, if you see that it is setting up the balance over here with some different value, and here it is trying to set up the value in a different format, and it is just basically they just get into something, and it just tells you that one from the account. So that's typically what it is doing. It is doing balance -1, and here it is doing balance -2. Why not? Let's try that one out. This lost update. We'll do that lost update. Now let's do that. The transaction 1. And I'll say begin transaction. Let's declare a variable. And let's call it balance as it's defining it. And now select at balance equal to. So I would say not balance from the accounts. I would say salary from, what is the name of our table? TBL employee 456. Right, where ID, let's say equal to 3, right? Where ID is equal to 3. I'm just giving ID to 3, right? So ID is equal to 3. And now let's do that. Wait for delay 00 colon 00 colon 10 seconds. And now set balance is equal to balance -1. Let's make it 100. Balance -100. Right. And I say update. Update TBL employee 456. Set salary equal to at balance where ID equals to 3. Right. Update that one and print balance here. and commit the transaction. Right, this is one transaction for us. What is the other transaction that we want to run? Here is the other transaction, and I'll copy this one. And I'll open up another file and I'll paste it over here. Transaction 2, I'll call it. So it's same for a few things other than that seconds. I will just take 1 second. Balance is equal to balance minus 200. Right? Set salary is equal to this one, printf level, and this one. Yes. So now let's go back to our previous one, first of all. The previous one, transaction 1. Let's run this one. Execute, and now come here and execute this one. Now one row affected, it has made 2,500 of the data, like it has made 2,500. Let's see what will happen when this executes. It has executed and it has made 2,600. Are you understanding that one? Now, what is the real value? That is the point of concern. The real value over here is again 2,600. Do you see that? Even though again the one transaction it changed that one and it made it 2,500. But then this transaction overridden that one. This transaction which ran after 10 seconds. It ran later on and it just overridden the value from 2,600 or 2,500 to 2,600. Why? Because it had read the balance over here and it is just -1. It is just subtracting 1 minus over there. Make sense, everyone? So what happens is that it is called lost update. So we got lost one of the update in between. You know what I mean? One of the statement, one of the update is lost because what changes that this transaction make is not available over here. Make sense, everyone? Now let's come back. Then we have another problem, repeatable read, solution to lost update. So we have repeatable read. If you introduce this set transaction isolation level repeatable read, then lost update can be solved. Check previous code with above isolation level. Now, if we come over here and if I just do what? Non-repeatable read problem, when a transaction reads the same data twice and another transaction updates the data in between first and second read and transaction 1. So let's go there, and what we do is that we'll try to introduce the set transaction level repeatable read. So if we set this one, transaction level repeatable read, and I do this one over here as well. Transaction level repeatable read. Now, if I come here and if let's make some more changes by 100, I would say, for example, 500 here in this one, and from this one we'll say 1,000. So it will run first, right? So first of all, let's come here and run that one. Execute, and I'll go to this one, and I'll try to execute this one. It quickly does that. Maybe in 1 second, it should do that. Okay, it was deadlocked on. You see that transaction process ID 52 was deadlocked on locked resource with another process. It has been chosen as the deadlock victim. Rerun the transaction. So it says that I cannot run that one because someone has occupied that one. So if I just come here and if I run this one, look at that. Now it says that it has made it 1,100 because first these changes are made. It made minus 500. You know what I mean? And now the real value is 1,100 because now this is both of the transactions have worked. So this is the solution to lost update. I hope this is making sense. This is very interesting. The lost update is basically solved over here by using this one. Now come the next one. So repeatable is we have done that repeatable read. If there's a repeatable read, it will just update and it will lock that one. Now non-repeatable read problem. When a transaction reads the same data twice and another transaction update the data in between first and second read of transaction. So now what we are doing, that the transaction reads the data twice and another transaction updates the data in between first and second read. So if something has changed the data in between the transactions of these two, what will happen and what we have to do and how would we solve that problem, right? So look at that. We have phantom reads. Happens when one transaction executes a query twice. It gets a different number of rows in the result set each time. When a second transaction inserts a new row that matches where clause in the query executed by the first transaction. I do code example of phantom reads. So, we will, the solution is over here, phantom reads, serializable isolation level, which applies range locking. So what it does, an important point to remember, reputable read only prevents update or delete of a value under what other transaction, but not insert of a new value. On the other hand, serializable will both prevent update, delete, and insertion together. Make sense? I'm not giving the example over here. You can just try that out. If there are two transactions, you can make one as 10 second, one as 5 second, and do something in between these two. So what will happen is that it will have that one. So we will just try to introduce that phantom read, and phantom read will be doing that one for us, right? So now there comes the triggers. What is a trigger? Event-driven stored procedure can be set up for insert, update, or delete. These are called triggers. Triggers are very interesting. Can be set up to execute after the operation instead of the operation. Sometimes we want some operations not to be performed. We want to stop them. And to stop them, we'll just do that. You have a trigger. Common use, maintain integrity rules. More complex than referential integrity. Implement dependent operations such as cascading deletes, audit trails, invoke an external action based on some criteria. We'll see its example. Instead of triggered, basically just does what that. So that's after triggers, they are fired after the triggering the action. And this instead of trigger actually does what? It fires instead of triggering action and responsive statement of execution. So they have their own purposes, as we have mentioned before. Now, after trigger, default type of trigger, although multiple triggers can be set up for a table for each event, it's not recommended. More than one trigger for insert is not recommended. That's quite an interesting thing. It is common to have different triggers for different events on a table, separate trigger for each insert, update, and delete. Trigger executed once each update, insert, or delete. In other words, it is not executed for each row affected. And this is very interesting. You will see that, how we will just do that. Example, create trigger, delete test on region after delete as begin, print, deleted, executed from the trigger. So we are creating a trigger, delete test, which is on a table region after delete as begin. If something is deleted, it says print, deleted, executed from the trigger. So now let's come here. Insert into region ID and insert into region ID. Go delete from region where region is that one. What will happen if you execute the following statement? You will see that delete statement will be it will just display that print that delete statement from the trigger has happened. Now examiner, after trigger delete test on region, after delete begin, if row count is greater than 0, begin print deleted, executed from the trigger. So it is you can just check these all commands over there by yourself. Trigger is a transaction. Both the statement and any modifications made in the trigger are implicitly a transaction. So rollback in triggered, rollback triggers and any modification that caused by the trigger to fire. If operation is in a transaction, the rollback in the trigger will abort the entire batch. So you see that if there is a transaction rollback, it will abort all the transactions over there. And that's quite interesting one. Now the inserted is a special table that maintains a copy of your insertion. So create trigger on accounts for insert as begin, select static from inserted end. So it will just create a trigger for that one. Whenever insert will happen, it will just run. Inserted improvement alter trigger inst trigger if you the instruction trigger. So if you set on accounts for insert as begin, and it will declare an ID, and it will just do that with a new record. Whenever it's ID'd, it will just generate that one, and that is quite interesting one. Access for write down all the update trigger to show all the changes done in accounts table. You have to do that one. You will just do that. Access to trigger has access to data before and after the operation in pseudo tables called inserted or deleted, contains rows that are result of an operation. Cannot modify the data directly. Delete rows are in deleted, insert rows are in inserted, and update old rows are deleted and new rows are inserted. So that's the way that it just basically runs. Recursive trigger. Triggers are not recursive by default. Recursive is required, desired, change SP configure value for nested triggers option true. And that is, we have to make that one. So last one, instead of trigger. What instead of trigger does? Replace the insert, update, and delete action different from after trigger as follows. Only one instead of trigger allowed for each action. Cannot be used to cascade on a table, cannot be recursive. Generally used to update the views that are normally updatable. So that are not updatable. So views with join generally cannot use delete, but use instead of delete and can be created and customize that one. So select statements or print statement, not good idea and triggers. We use them to illustrate concept. How do we capture the results of select or display the expression in the print? So we just do that. So references are inside Microsoft SQL Server 2000 and MSDN and SQL Server help. So this very much ends up this one. And please just try to have that update triggered by yourself. And if you have any question, first of all, related to the topic, let me know. And otherwise, we are good with this one. What I'll do is that first of all, I'll select this. Maybe let's save 3 files, but this one is the main. Which one is the main file? This one is the main file, I think. Yeah, it has more the values. So I'll save this. Save this as okay, so come here. In codes, I'll say week 10 part 1. Week 10 part 1, save that. Close that. It would be week 10 part 2. Week 10 part 2, I'll close that. And this should be week 10 part 3. We have 3 files today. So these will be saved, and I'll just update that on your course shell on week 10. I'm just doing that right now. It's all there. Now I've just added that everything over there. You will see that on that one. Can you guys see your course shell? And you will find out in the week 10, you have lecture 8, week 10 part 1, week 10 part 2, week 10 part 3. And later on, when I'll just do the recording, I'll just save that recording as well over here. Right, so thank you very much. And I would highly recommend you to just try this out, this code that I have just given, practice for all. Write down the update trigger to show all the changes done in accounts table. Whenever account table something happen, trigger runs and it just shows some of the values over there, right? So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in today. And I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. It's very important that you have to just keep in mind that we have got this one. So if you have any questions, you can just go ahead, or I will be just